Hi and welcome back to my booktube channel. My name is Sam and today I'm going to be talking to you about a very popular sci-fi series. But first I just wanted to introduce this kind of new playlist that I'm going to make. Basically I'm going to be trying to read more sci-fi books this year because I have like such an admiration for sci-fi concepts. I'll always hear sci-fi concept like the Earth has been destroyed and we have to go to a new planet, or robots have taken over, and all these kind of plots, and they're so me, but I just so rarely read sci-fi. So my initiative this year is to read more sci-fi, and to do that I'm going to vlog my way through as many sci-fi reads as I can, and they're going to be collated into one playlist called My Year of Sci-Fi. So I hope you can come along with this journey with me. There'll be at least one read every month. Hopefully there'll be some more in between, but I have a buddy read set up with Emily from My Chaotic Bookshelf on Instagram. Everything will be down below. And Elizabeth from Museum Grack Reads, who has YouTube and Instagram. They'll be down in the description. But basically I have we've buddy read in the past, and this year I was kind of like, hey, why don't we just do like a buddy read, sci-fi buddy read every month? And that is kind of how it started, and now we are going to be reading a sci-fi book each month. I'm going to leave the entire list of January to December in the description below in case you want to read along. Be prepared for these videos. They'll probably come out a month after they've been read, so like this one is coming out in February, hopefully, and then the February will come out in March, that kind of thing. But yes, that's how this is going to work, and I'll leave all the books in the description below so you can read along with us, prepare for these videos, give us your thoughts, and maybe see if there's any that you are interested in too. But anyway, let's get into the first video of this little series. And this is going to be on The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. Now, if you don't know this book, it is one of the kind of, well, not oldest, but it's one of the most renowned sci-fi books out there. It has a huge reputation. It has a film made out of it. It has a whole radio station TV drama of it, loads of different variations of this story, and these are the books. And what I found particularly interesting, what Elizabeth told me, was like all these different versions are all different. Like Douglas Adams was involved in most of them, and he would kind of play around with the story. Like in the movie, it has a completely different ending to the book, and I find that so intriguing. I can't wait to watch the movie, but for now we're talking about the books. So this first book I loved. Okay, so the kind of plot summary of this is it follows a human called Arthur Dent. He's kind of an ordinary guy. There's nothing particularly special about him, but one day he finds himself the only human left. The Earth is destroyed in order for this alien species to build a space bypass, this space highway, and they demolish Earth because it's in the way. And then from there we see Arthur and his just random alien friend that he just had and never knew about, called Ford Prefect. Funny name, I know. And they are left to hitchhike across the galaxy to try and figure out where his new place in this universe is. Now that the Earth is gone, he's got to kind of understand this entire expansive universe that he'd had no prior experience in. It's so baffling and weird and crazy, and honestly just anything happens. And that is the premise of this book, and also this series. The series is very much about the journey through space. There's not really a definitive plot, like there's no definitive endpoint of like where we're trying to reach, where like we're trying to do this certain thing. There's none of that. It's just hopping from planet to planet, experience to experience, for us to experience the vastness and the weirdness and the downright crazy experiences within this expansive universe, that it's just so hard to kind of capture in words how wild this series is. Like there's a talking pot of petunia plants, if that gives you any hint. But yeah, it's very wild. So that's kind of the plot of this series. I think for this first book I rated it 5 stars. It was basically lightning in a bottle. I'm stealing that from Elizabeth, but it is lightning in a bottle. It was just this crazy journey. I think I've overestimated it now, but it was like this really interesting story, and I love the world building. I think Douglas Adams really has this talent for inventing like entire worlds, entire civilizations, and introducing kooky concepts that wouldn't make sense in other books but just fit within the universe so well because he's written it like that. And he has such a talent, and he is incredible. I think he's dead now, which is a shame. But yeah, really talented. I'm trying to think of other non-spoilery thoughts. I really enjoyed the characters. There were some where I was like, but there were other ones that I loved, aka Marvin, my depressed robot boy.
I think you ought to know I'm feeling very depressed.
He is me, he is all of us, he is King. Uh, and he's voiced by Alan Rickman in the films as well, so there's that. There was Trillian, who's kind of this other character who I nearly spoiled them, but there's Trillian, there's Zaphod Beetlebrox, who's the president of the universe or space or something. Who else is there? There's Arthur Dent, there's Ford Prefect, there's Slotty Bartfast. I don't know if I said that right. Slotty Bartfast. The characters were fun, the universe is fun. Let's dive into some spoilers. So from this point onwards, this video is going to be complete spoilers for this book, as well as the rest of the series, because me and Elizabeth managed to trudge through the other 4 books after the first one, because we were like, yeah, this was our set read, but we may as well read the entire series, because why not? So yeah, this video will also be about these books as well. So if you don't want spoilers for this book or these books, click off now, or click off at a respective book that you have not read. Okay, so let's get into spoilers. Okay, so coming out of this first book, I can finally understand this whole like joke in the science fiction community of the number 42. Like, I feel like I vaguely understood what it was supposed to mean, but people would always go, what's the answer? It's 42. What's the answer? It is 42. And it was like, okay, and I know this particularly because my dad would do it. I'd like ask him a question and he'd go 42, and I'd be like, what are you on about? But I finally understand it. So in this novel, the whole reveal is that these mice, or all mice, in fact, were using the Earth as an experiment. So it's kind of a reversal of those roles. And the Earth was basically this giant computer that was trying to figure out what the big answer to the universe was, what the answer to everything was, basically. And obviously when the Earth was destroyed, it actually turned out that the Earth had been destroyed prematurely 5 minutes before the computer program ended, and Arthur, being the last human alive until we find out that Trillian is also a human from Earth, he was the last one who possibly has the answer, and these mice are basically luring Arthur in, and they get a hold of him. And yeah, I don't think I explained that very well. It's really hard to explain these books. They are so wild. But yeah, the answer to the universe is 42, but then they realised they didn't know what the question to the universe was. Like, what is 42 the answer to? Like, what is the big question? So that's what the Earth was trying to figure out. The Earth was trying to figure out the question that went with the answer. Okay? I hope that makes sense. I mean, you've read the book. You know what I'm on about here. But I just thought that was so crazy. And I feel like out of the whole series, this book had the most solid plot. Like, that was the most solid reveal and the most kind of crazy full circle moment. The rest of them, I will say now, kind of leave off like on unanswered tangents sometimes, but this one felt like it had a circular story. It had a start and a finish, and it had some answers and some unanswered questions, and I just loved that. And the mice were like they were so like civil servants. They were like, because Arthur being the last one, they needed his brain because they wanted to like dissect his brain and that to finally get the question. And Arthur's like, of course you're not going to have my brain, and they kind of run for it. And then the mice are like, well, we're not going to chase after him. Like, let's just make something up. Why didn't we do that to begin with? And it's just like, yeah, yeah, okay. Fair enough. I mean, that's what I was thinking. They were like, Arthur, we need your brain. We're going to take your brain to like find out the question. And I was like, but why don't you just make it up? Like, who cares? Who cares anymore? But yeah, I loved that. And as I said, Marvin was my favourite character, the depressed robot. I know Marvin is a fan favourite, so I'm very glad that I'm in that camp, because I will defend Marvin with my life. The other characters, Arthur, sure, he was good. I think he serves his purpose of being the kind of constantly bewildered human being swept up in all this very well. I thought that was portrayed really coolly. I would have liked a bit more kind of reflection on the Earth being destroyed. He kind of moves on from that very quickly. Trillian was very interesting, but I feel like we should have got more of her. She was kind of just on the sidelines. Beeblebrox, the president of space, was okay. I found him a little bit annoying, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't really want to see him going into the rest of this series. he was just kind of annoying. But I did think his whole concept of like having two heads and like three arms was really cool. I thought that was really cool. And the babblefish, oh my god, the babblefish. It's like this little fish that they put in your ear and it kind of translates everything for you. It's kind of like how the TARDIS in Doctor Who translates everything. In this one, they have a fish. And I just thought that was a little cute little mention, you know? This book was just completely absurd. And so is the rest of the series. And I just love it. And I would highly recommend this book. Even though you're watching this, so it's spoilers, so you've already read it. But if you haven't read any more of this series, definitely go back and finish this series because it's so freaking fun and good. Anyway, let's move on to book 2, which is called, let me try and remember, The Restaurant at the End of the Universe. I think that's the second one. Yes, it is. Let's move on to that one. Okay, so now The Restaurant at the End of the Universe, book 2. So in this book, we kind of have a few different plot lines. Some of our characters get split up, but to begin with, we all start at this restaurant at the end of the universe. And now going into this, I had assumed this meant like the edge of space, that kind of end of the universe, like it was the end of the expanded universe. But no, it was literally the end of the universe getting destroyed. We travelled in time. There was time travel here. So we get teleported to this restaurant on a planet called Milloway, or like a planet called Milloway, and it's this restaurant where you just dine, you chill out, and you watch the universe get destroyed, because that is the dining experience. That is the American dream we should be striving for. And I don't know why I'm saying we, I'm not American, but that is the American dream we want. The end of the universe. I'm on a tangent. Anyway, so that is where our characters begin, and then the storylines kind of start to branch off. We see I'm just going to say Beetleborgs. We see Beetleborgs has this kind of whole mini mission to kind of, well, I don't really know what the aim of the mission was, but he ends up in this kind of virtual reality, like simulated fake universe. And he goes to this machine where it shows him the expanse of everything, and normally it sends people mad, but it doesn't send him mad because he's already mad, but also this is a simulation, so it wasn't going to send him mad anyway. I don't really understand what all that was about. I'm not a massive fan of Beetleborgs, like I said, so yeah, I didn't really care about that plotline. I thought it was cool that there was a universe within the universe. I thought that was a very interesting concept, and like the whole crashed plane was never rescued, and that's where it's hidden. It was interesting, but it wasn't for me. I'm not that bothered about Beetleborgs. Anyway, from the negativity, we go to who else do we have? We have Arthur and Ford are together, and they're on this colony ship that is kind of, it has basically been just lied to and sent ahead to colonize a new planet and do stuff like that. But we learn that it was just the original planet trying to get rid of all these idiots and these losers of society. They were like, yeah, you go ahead, we'll meet you there, you get it set up for us. Like, we need hairdressers and accountants and all those kind of important people on the planet before we arrive, so you go set it up. And really, they weren't coming after, they were sending all the idiots away. And I thought that was so funny. I love that. And then it gets even funnier because we learn that those idiots, these hairdressers and nail technicians or whatever they were, are where humanity started, because we end up, again, there's time travel in this book, so we end up on a prehistoric Earth. So an Earth before we were even on it, I think it was 5 million years before us or something like that. I can't remember the exact setting time of it. But yeah, they are where humanity comes from, and Adams has a very brutal approach. He does not shy away from being like, yeah, a whole bunch of them just died because they got the common cold. A whole bunch of them just walked out into the wilderness and got eaten. Like, he doesn't hold back on the brutalness of nature, which I also like, and it compares well with these idiot characters then being put in a very serious situation. I thought that was a nice balance, and it was like realistic. But also, how is that the start of humanity? I am ashamed. But yeah, we are on prehistoric Earth, which was probably my favourite storyline of this book. I found that very interesting, even though it was kind of towards the end of the book, that it was even revealed that it was the Earth, and I just liked that. And then we see Ford and Arthur like split up, and it's like for 5 years, and it's like, okay, you're just living on Earth prehistoric Earth for 5 years by yourself, Arthur. You go. I don't know if I would have survived, but good for you. So there also wasn't really that much of Trillian. Again, she's kind of forgotten. Like I said, she was in the previous book, she was kind of a side character. She didn't really have much going on. And in this book, she didn't have much going on either. What else? There was talking elevators. I loved the subtle world building. Not necessarily like these big things like this is this whole alien race that does this, this, and this. No, but there's just this small comment of like talking elevators, and it's just where I'm at. I really like that small detail because it's so random, but it's like so enjoyable. But yeah, I don't really have much more to say on this book. It wasn't my favorite. It was good. I enjoyed the prehistoric Earth stuff. I enjoyed kind of the origins of humanity. The perspective vortex was cool. The restaurant was cool. But really, I feel like this one struggled with the sequel. The sequel problem. It couldn't really live up to the lightning of the bottle, which was the first book. Which is a shame. But I think it does have an enjoyable story still. It's just not as fulfilling or interesting as that first book was, which is understandable. So we got to give Adam some more time to cook, some more time to kind of get back in his stride, you know? So yeah, the restaurant at the end of the universe. Let's go on to the next book, which I think is called... No, I'm not. I don't know. It's called Life, the Universe, and Everything. Okay, so I'll see you in this book. Boom. I don't know why I did that. I'm wearing the same jumper. Okay, so Life, the Universe, and Everything is the third installment in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. And this one takes off 5 years after the previous book. We see Arthur has been kind of alone this entire time. Again, like I said, good on him. I don't think I could have survived that. And he's just kind of chilling. He's got his dead rabbit bag. He's thrown the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is, I didn't even mention until this point, but it's like this book that Ford writes for, and it kind of chronicles all the important information of the universe into one kind of volume of this one book. And Arthur had been using it prior to kind of understand the universe, and he'd like refer to it and we'd see sections of it. Anyway, so he throws that in a river because he no longer wants it. He has not seen Ford for these 5 years until a time void kind of brings them together again. They are reunited, but it is not a happy reunion because they are teleported to Earth again 2 days before it is supposed to be destroyed, and they are in the middle of a cricket grounds at Lord's, where they run into an old friend called S.A.Barnes, who I didn't mention in the previous book either. He was in the first book, and he was kind of this creator of the planet. He had made the Earth computer for the mice, and he specifically designed Norway, which is important for a next video. There's going to be a video where maybe a certain someone is going to go to Norway, so look out for that vlog. I'm going to go see S.A.Barnes hard work in person, which is exciting. But he designed the glaciers of Norway, and that's kind of his thing. And that's basically who S.A.Barnes is. He made the Earth. And he shows up here again. He's just casually chilling. He's watching cricket when all of a sudden Arthur and Ford appear, as well as some fanatical evil robots that start raining havoc on the cricket match and Earth and just destroying shit, you know? And I will say this book again got a little bit worse for me. Like, I wasn't as invested in this book. I wasn't enjoying it as much. Like, I just feel like the first book set my standards so high that it's kind of hard to get back onto that level. But I do later in the series, but this one was probably my least favourite of the series. There was a lot of the times where I kind of zoned out and I didn't really know what was going on. I kept trying to like understand what was supposed to be going on. And I just didn't. But I went along with the ride because that's the charm of this series. You don't necessarily have to understand what is going on at all times. You can kind of just enjoy the ride, or at least enjoy the craziness and the weirdness of the journey, even if you don't understand what's going on. Because honestly, I don't think the characters know what's going on anyway. So I was basically Arthur Dent with this book. I had no idea what was going on. There was a particular storyline in this book that I did grasp onto and I really enjoyed. And I'm going to completely contradict that because I can't remember the name of the character. But there's a character who we found out has been being reincarnating again and again throughout the books. In the background, he was the bowl of petunias that fell from the sky in the first book. He was the rabbit that Arthur turned into a bag, and then in this one he was an old man that had a heart attack at the cricket grounds, and he's been living these lives over and over again as a fly, and he like keeps his consciousness. He remembers who he was in his past life, and every single life Arthur then killed him. When he was a fly, he was swatted. When he was a rabbit, Arthur turned him into a pencil case bag for his rocks. When he was an old man, Arthur scared him to death. When he was a bowl of petunias, it was because Arthur was there, and he turned the missile in the first book with the improbability ship. You know what I'm on about. He turned the missile into a bowl of petunias, which then fell to the ground and destroyed and died. But yeah, in each of the universes, in each of his reincarnations, he had been killed by Arthur, and now he has gained a big vengeance. He wants revenge against Arthur Dent. He wants Arthur Dent to know what he's done to him. He wants Arthur Dent to regret what he's done. And yeah, I just thought that was such a interesting concept, and I wish that had been the main plot. I wish that had been the entire book rather than this whole cricket thing, because we learned that cricket is based on an actual intergalactic war, and humans kind of just adopted it as a game, which they found really insensitive, but the humans are like, we're gonna play cricket. I didn't really care for that, but I wish this whole revenge and this whole reincarnation thing had been the entire plot, because that was the most interesting and important part for me anyway. So that's about it for this next book. So yeah, let's move on to the next book. So Long and Thanks for All the Fish is the next book in the series. This is the fourth book, and this one has restored my faith in the series. This one, again, captures that lightning in the bottle. Again, I think this one is on par with the first book. I've really, really enjoyed it. But basically in this book, we see that the Earth has magically returned, mysterious, and no one can remember the events of it being destroyed, but it has been brought back, and time has continued from where it ended, and Arthur Dent finds himself again on this Earth, and he has no clue what happened, why it's back, what's going on, and he just looks like a madman. He even has to explain to his work why he wasn't there for like 6 months, and he's like, well, the Earth was destroyed, but anyway, I was in like Africa, like I was just on an adventure, like which I thought was funny. But yeah, he's bewildered. He does not know what's going on, but either be it convenience or kind of higher power meddling, he keeps running into this woman called Fenchurch, who remembers the Earth was destroyed and is just as confused about why she remembers that and no one else can. So they kind of keep coming together by divine providence. Most of the time it's just kind of they're brought together, they're kind of attracted to each other, and they do eventually become kind of a loving relationship as well. And I loved Fenchurch. She was such a brilliant addition, and I loved her so much. But yeah, they were also both gifted a fishbowl. Weirdly, it says that's where the name comes from. So Long and Thanks for All the Fish is written on this fishbowl that we're both given, but they can't remember where it's from. And yeah, and they find the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy that Arthur had thrown away in prehistoric Earth. They then find that again. And yeah, it was like kind of this journey to find what happened and why the Earth is back, and it was a lot of fun. And we end up at the final message of God that left in the universe as well. That's where we kind of leave it off. And the final message that God leaves is, and it's sorry for any inconvenience. That's just so funny. Like, Adam's humour and British just dry wit is just so good. And I just thought that was a perfect message. Sorry for any inconvenience. It's so like, it's just brilliant. You know, it's just brilliant. I really enjoyed that. It was so funny. And Marvin showed up for that part as well. Like, we've been missing Marvin for a couple of books now. He's kind of been mentioned. He was like in a brief second where he was like talking to a tank or whatever, but he's kind of been missing, so seeing him back for that final ending at least was very nice, and they helped him see the message and they spelled it out to him because you can really see it, and I'm just happy Marvin appeared again. But thoughts on this book? Yeah, I loved this one. It was so good. The only thing different about the Earth that they realised is the dolphins left, and the dolphins were like really smart creatures similar to the mice, and they'd left Earth before it was destroyed, and they had left these fish bowls around, and that's where the fish bowls come from. Fenchurch, like I said, brilliant new character. Loved her so much. She is the Trillian we never got because Trillian has been forgotten at this point. Honestly, Trillian is just completely wasted as a character, and I feel like this Fenchurch character is who she was supposed to be or where she was supposed to end up, but for some reason they ended up as two different characters. I'm not quite sure. Because it's like she is the only other human that survived. Like Trillian and Arthur were the last two humans, but that's kind of never acted upon that much, and so that's why I feel like Trillian was supposed to be Fenchurch or Fenchurch was supposed to be Trillian. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you know anything about that. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. It restored my faith in this series. So let's go on to the last one and see how that fared. Okay, so the final book in the series is called Mostly Harmless, which is a reference to what Ford wrote about Earth. So in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, on the section about Earth, the only thing that ended up in the final edition was Mostly Harmless. And Ford wrote the entry for Earth. And this is the only thing that got into it. So yeah, that's where the reference is at. So this book kind of follows, it's kind of the conclusion of the series, and it follows Arthur, who crash lands onto a planet called Luminella or something like that. Lamuella or something like that. And he basically is trying to just find somewhere to settle down. He's done with the hitchhiking. He just wants to settle down, and this is the closest he can find to Earth. In his kind of search for the proper Earth. At this closest he can find, he becomes a sandwich maker. All is quiet until Trillian shows up, and we find out that they had a baby? Just off screen, Arthur and Trillian had a baby, and now there's a teenage girl that's Arthur's daughter called Random, and Trillian just shows up on Arthur's doorstep and is like, hey, I don't want to deal with Random anymore. She's your daughter. You have her. And then goes away. And it's like, okay, I know I said we needed more from Trillian, but I didn't need a surprise child. Like, not even a surprise child, a surprise teenager. And it's just, it was so weird and and random. Like, I don't get what the point of that was. Like, now Arthur has a random child. Okay, sure, whatever. So this child, this Random, has a copy of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and she kind of feels very displaced. She didn't have a great connection with her mother, and now she is obsessed with finding the Earth and trying to find out where she fits within this Earth, because it's where she comes from. She's a human. She's Earth. She wants to know that she would belong there. So she has this whole kind of passion to get back to the Earth some way or other and be at home almost. So she has a nice story. I just don't like that she came out of nowhere with no explanation, and Fenchurch is just completely gone in this book because of some time space rules. She doesn't exist anymore, which I absolutely hate, because Fenchurch ended up being my favorite. Well, besides Marvin, Fenchurch was my favorite character, and then she's just kind of yep, she's not important anymore. She was in one book, she's gone. And I was like, why'd you do this to me? I liked Fenchurch. But yeah, also we see Ford has his own little adventure in this one, and he goes back to the Hitchhikers HQ, and he finds out that there's some very strange things going on, because the Vogons have taken over the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and now they're doing this whole rebrand to kind of market it towards other people and not hitchhikers anymore. And Ford is not having this, so he gets his way to the servers and he mucks up the files, and then he's out of there. And they all end up back on Earth, because Ford goes to Earth to find Arthur and that. And Random has this magical bird that comes out of nowhere. No, the magical bird was released by Ford because it was part of the Hitchhikers thing. And the bird ends up with Random through the copy of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and the bird is kind of this all-seeing, all-benevolent creature, and it takes Random to Earth, and then Arthur obviously goes with Ford back to Earth to get Random, and Trillian shows up on Earth, and everyone's on Earth, and then the Earth is destroyed, and they all die, and it's kind of this whole circular loop of the Vogons destroy Earth, and then this time Arthur does not escape. They're all on it, and it kind of could be interpreted as maybe this whole series was just Arthur's final dying memory, I guess, because full circle became he dies anyway. I I don't like that very much. And I know this ending has a lot of the fan base kind of just like, you can ignore that. I know I was looking through Goodreads reviews and a lot of them were like, you can ignore this book. You don't have to read Mostly Harmless. You can end with the prior book and you'll be fine. It's a much better ending. But I was like, no, I'm going to read all 5 books because I own them, you know? So yeah, I know a lot of the fan base is like, you don't have to read this. I'm inclined to agree because what was the point? They all die at the end. Like, that trope is so boring, and it kind of undermines, that's the word I'm looking for. It kind of undermines the whole story and the message of the universe anyway, is that it's expansive and there's so much more to explore and stuff like that. And yeah, just killing all the characters in this kind of final act is just kind of like, what was the point? What was that point? Like, they're all just dead now. Apart from Beetle-Rocks, who is like out there. He's kind of forgotten at this point. Which I don't mind because I didn't like him. Yeah, that's Mostly Harmless. Let's check my notes. There were some different universes. They could have been used more. Like, there's some descriptions of like, oh, this isn't the Earth that I want. This is a different universe as Earth. That could have been developed a bit more. Ford's whole thing with the book was very full circle. That I liked that he went back to them and he kind of had this he kind of found out what was happening to the Hitchhiker's Guide, and that was where he concluded, is like, it's been taken over by the Vogons. Now he has to just find some other purpose in the universe. I like that. I mean, he dies at the end, so I guess he doesn't have to find another purpose because he's dead. So there was also no sign of Marvin in this book after seeing him at the end of the one before this. And yeah, the child was annoying, is my other note. So that's all my thoughts on Mostly Harmless and the rest of the series. So yeah, that was my Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy video. I hope I didn't make this too long. I tried to just say all my main points, but yeah, let's rank them. So I think Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy book number 1 was my favourite. Then book number 4, So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, was my next favourite. And then probably The Restaurant at the End of the Universe, number 3. Also book 2 was then my 3rd favourite. And then it's going to have to be Mostly Harmless for 4th place. And then Life, the Universe and Everything as the least favourite book, I'm afraid. So favourite, least favourite, book 1, book 3. So yeah, that's my ranking of these. I think I gave this 5 stars, 5 stars, 4 stars, 1 or 2 stars, I can't remember, and 3 stars, I think. I should probably check all that, but yeah, that's my thoughts on Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry that it's not coming out in January, but like, it's coming out in February, it'll be fine. But that was my January read, and that was my January buddy read with Emily and Elizabeth. I really enjoyed talking to those two about it, so definitely check them out. They're wonderful people and so fun to talk to, so don't be scared to just DM them, talk about sci-fi books. They'll highly appreciate it. They're lovely people. So yeah, I really enjoyed that first buddy read. I can't wait for February, which I'm lying about because it is February now and I'm already reading it, but we're reading Combat Codes, so if you want to be ready for the next video, go read Combat Codes, and see me in the next video in the series. So yeah, that was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. If you like this video, leave a like, comment and subscribe. Leave all your thoughts about this series down below in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Who are your favourite characters? What were your favourite moment? Is there any particular book you didn't like? Yeah, let me know in the comments. And subscribe to stick around for this sci-fi journey. I am going to read as many sci-fi books as I can this year, and I'm going to get into this genre. So yeah. So leave your good messages in the comments below. I'm just rambling now. Thanks for watching so much. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!